lightweight bout. Dan Hooker coming in at plus 230 against Jalin Turner. Minus 230 for Turner. Over under 1.5 rounds. Minus 145 for the over. Plus 145 for the under. My man, Jalin Turner, coming off of what I think was a poor decision because I hated that fight from Gamrot. That made me not a Gamrot fan to watch that fight he had against Jalin Turner because he was just crotch sniffing the entire fight. And I thought Jalin Turner did the better work. But if he does pull that win off, Jalin Turner's on a 6-fight win streak. He's 4-1 in his last 5, but he's 5-1 in his last 6. And the frame is obviously the thing people will talk about. 6'3". Dan Hooker 2-3 in his last 5. He's had a kind of an up and down run. I mean, he's fighting some pretty dang good competition. You look at his last 5. The last time he was out against Claudio Puelles, he got the second round knockout, which was, I mean, he was minus 155. Like, looking back on that, like, god dang, we should have went throw the house on Dan Hooker.
Right.
But 2 losses before that: Arnold Allen, Islam Makhachev, and then a win over Nasrat Haqparast, the UFC 266, and then 2 losses to Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier. So, I mean, he's been at the top of the lightweight division in the rankings for a while, and he's getting a tough opponent here in Jalin Turner, which was a fight that was booked before, and Hooker had to pull out. So they rescheduled it, which is kind of interesting because, you know, maybe they just really want this fight. I've been told Jalin Turner really wants this fight, so maybe that gives you a little bit more of a confidence for Jalin Turner, but a favorite nonetheless coming into this one, somewhat of a sizable favorite as well. Should be a stand-up fight, though, and it should be fireworks. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it should be fireworks too. Man, Dan Hooker, you do look at his losses. I know everybody shits on Dan Hooker too, but the dude's beat some good guys. I mean, Felder, Iaquinta, and James Vick in a row, and then loses to Dustin Poirier in just a brutal back and forth fight. I mean, props to him for sticking in there, and he was hurting Dustin too. Like, don't get it twisted. That wasn't just a one-sided ass beating the whole fight. But something seemed to happen to him in there after that fight. I mean, he loses to Michael Chandler by knockout, beats Nasrat Haqparast, loses to Islam, short notice, first round submission, and then gets knocked out or TKO'd by Arnold Allen in the first round. This dude's not losing to scrubs by any means. I mean, he's beating who he's supposed to beat, and he's getting beat by the top dudes: Poirier, Chandler, Islam, Arnold Allen at featherweight. I mean, that's just those are fights that you're going to lose, 75% of the time to those dudes if you're Dan Hooker. So nothing really for him to hang your head about in some of those losses. Against Jalin Turner, though, you're going up against the biggest dude at 155 after Dan Hooker's, long, tall as well. But Jalin Turner, if this fight plays out on the outside, he's crafty, he's fast, and he's so long. I don't see him losing to a guy like Dan Hooker. I think Jalin Turner loses to guys, like Gamrot, who are just going to wrestle the whole entire time and not let you breathe. Like, that's the only way you really beat Jalin Turner. If it's a stand-up affair with Hooker, I don't see it going well for him. And if Hooker does decide to try to grapple and go for takedowns, he's not like a Gamrot style where he's going to, relentlessly get this thing to the ground. So, yeah, I like Jalin Turner a lot here. I really do. Feel bad for Hooker. I love the guy. I love watching his fights. But here, I think as the fight goes on, it's just going to be Jalin Turner landing some big shots. Hooker kind of hanging in there, and maybe we get a late finish. I'm predicting Jalin Turner third-round TKO.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Hooker, in that fight with Poirier, he won the first 2 rounds. So he was up 2-0 against Poirier, and Poirier just kind of took over and won the last 3 rounds. But the only way that I see Hooker winning this fight is if he can get on somewhat of the inside and make it a brawl, because he's 6 foot, but he doesn't fight that long. He uses the kicks pretty well, but where he does his good work is like kind of on the inside boxing range. Like even against Poirier, the hooks that he was landing was like right in front of his face, just like torquing. That was a while ago, but I look at this one with Jalin Turner, the size is always going to be a problem for anybody. And he uses his length so well. The long jabs, the long kicks, and he's been training with Hamzat over in Dubai. So the ground game is getting better. The submissions are always nasty. He had the big submission against another Aussie at International Fight Week last year. got the guillotine win in the round 1. And it seems like Jalin Turner likes to fight the Aussies because he's beaten Brad Riddell, Jamie Malarkey, Josh Kulabau. So I mean, he's got the Aussies numbers, and he's going up against another Aussie here. So I'm gonna go with Jalin Turner. I think it's somewhat of a good matchup for him because he shines in the kickboxing, and he's gonna get a kickboxer here in Dan Hooker. Could it be a little bit closer if he doesn't fight to his strengths? Absolutely. But we've seen the improvements from Jalin Turner, the patience that he has when he has you hurt. I look at that Malarkey fight, like the dude was just so precise with his shots. When he had him hurt, he wasn't like jumping all over him. He was still staying at range and landing big shots, and that's why he got him out of there. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Jalin Turner in this one. I love to watch him fight, and hope he can pick up another win.